So it's now recording. So again, I was saying that for people watching the recording, here's the link to the agenda today, and yeah, again, if anybody wants to bring into the table like something in the beginning of the meeting because you have to quit, I'm happy to change the order here, unless Jonas has to leave as well. Jonas?
No, I got all meetings, so
okay.
Be good.
Oops, I think I stopped hearing you through this. Gosh, why is this happening?
Okay. Okay, you can still hear me, right? Can you hear me?
It's worse than before, but we can hear you. Yeah.
It's worse? Oh, no way. Come on. Oh, shit. Okay, so.
Yeah, that's just. Now it's better now?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. So since nobody seems to be willing to introduce a new item before your topic, Jonas, you might want to start with your topic.
Yeah, sure. So yeah, it's regarding how. What? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No.
Okay, so it's regarding the request reply pattern and what kind of view it should have, because as there's still an ongoing discussion about how these subscribe and publish operations are to be interpreted. And when I have request reply in the NATS protocol, I'm a little bit confused if I should still keep this the current view that the spec has for subscribe and publish, and not directly for the broker-centric. And it's more if I should keep it consistent with the spec, or should I just scratch that and then just do it protocol-based?
So I guess Jonas, I don't know the rest of us, but in my case, I don't know really how NATs work in regards to request reply. I have more or less, some knowledge, but it would be nice if you share a little bit of context. Because
sure. So NATs have the normal publish and subscribe, where you just publish a message and you forget about it, basically. Then the request reply is regarding that when you basically a GET request or any other HTTP request, and you expect to get something in return. Basically, you expect a response. So that's the basic of the request reply. And since we don't have an actual, since we still only have these publish and subscribe operations in the protocol, I have to add some bindings for the protocols to specify whether an application is the requester or responder to a request reply. And it's in this context, and I'm a bit, I would like to just, what's it called? Scratch the standard view, but then it might be confusing for people that using it for the first time. So at the moment, it's still compliant with what's the current view in the protocol is, but or the spec. But I would love to change it, but I'm not sure it's such a good idea to do so.
Well, I don't know. I think so. Let me try to understand this, or let me know if I understood correctly. Is this like, for instance, when you see publish, it means that your clients can send a request to you, or you mean in the opposite?
It could be both ways, exactly. So when it could be that I request something from the clients, and it can be the other way around. But when a request happens, a response is expected. And that's
okay. Oh, okay. I see what you mean. So this is not the classic request response like in the client server model, but this is request reply over messaging, right? Like you send a message to some channel, some topic,
yep.
And then you expect to get a response in another topic at some point.
At the same topic, exactly the same. But that's
at the same topic.
Yeah.
Oh,
but that's all handled by Nats internally. So all you have is that you request something and then you get the message. Okay. But when you have to specify it in an AsyncAPI document, it gets a little bit tricky if I have to use the same view that we have.
Yeah. So why does it get tricky? I'm not getting it. Like in which context? Like
I can actually show it. I have an example if I can find it. Just give me 2 seconds. Can I share screen? Can you give me permission to that? I think it's this one, right? Can you see anything? Okay. So, for example,
can you make the font a bit bigger?
Yeah, sure.
My eyesight is decent, but it's
yeah, sure. That was the wrong way. There you go. Is that better?
More, please.
More? Okay.
I'll make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, like 2 points more, maybe.
Like that?
A bit more. Not kidding. I'm getting blind. Slowly.
It should actually be.
Maybe it's just my monitor. Don't worry. No worries.
I mean, if I make it much bigger, it's kind of let's see. I can't even see my own screen, so I have no idea how it actually gets projected on your screen. So, yeah, I hope this is okay. Okay.
It's looking better now. No worries.
Okay. So, for example, we can have a request reply where I define it as with just one channel, but it has both subscribe and publish operations. And then in this format, with the current view, it means that the API is able to I didn't think I messed up these because these are reversed. Yeah, so for example here, the API should, like the original thought is that it should wait for a request by the game server to be notified when the game server has started. That's basically the principle of this channel. But the way I'm describing it now is that the subscribe operation is actually what it publishes. So this this channel or this operation is actually what it replies to the game server, and the publish operation is the request that it receives from the game server, which is in a broker-centric view, it's reversed and is confusing when you look at it firsthand.
Jonas, so
yeah,
you're saying though the both the request and the response goes over the same channel. So how do you know how it underneath the covers selects the like basically correlates the request to the to deliver only to the responder on the same channel?
It's all handled by the Nets. Basically, I just have a Nets client, and the Nets protocol all handles that. What's it called? That fiddling, how it works underneath. So I just abstract away from it, and what this generates is. See if I can find the correct one.
I mean, from my perspective, every other asynchronous messaging system I've ever seen has a channel for requests and a channel for responses that is separate. And I don't think we properly model that in AsyncAPI with publish and subscribe anyway. But I don't think that's actually been a use case. Fran, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's my first time seeing this kind of pattern as well, like using the same channel. But it's probably done, I don't know, behind the scenes using some headers on the messages or something. I don't know, like it might be the client who's keeping these messages, but yeah, I don't know how this will work behind the scenes. It will be great to have people from Nats.
Well, I'm just wondering if this is, it's cool that Nats does this. I'm wondering how one-off of it is from a modeling pattern perspective. Like my point is like, I think we do need to support asynchronous request reply, but like having the request and the response go onto the same channel, like is that a case for the Nats bindings, having an extension that kind of deals with this versus the actual overall model?
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. I don't know. This is actually something that we need to consult with them, because maybe this is abstracted by the client itself, but it's not abstracted in the protocol maybe. So yeah, we will need to know more about it, maybe about how this work behind the scenes, right? But yeah, we need to have something for request reply patterns, and that's actually requested by, can't remember now, but there's an issue. Request and support for request and reply, not pun intended. And and so the only thing, I mean, right now it's possible. The only thing is that you cannot correlate the request with the reply, right? So there's no way to say like this is actually the reply of something coming from this other channel. There's no semantics on the spec to reflect that. But yeah, you can, as per the spec right now, it's possible to have a publish and a subscribe, like Jonas is showing, on a single channel, which means that somehow it's like a response. Otherwise, it will be weird, right? Like you're publishing and subscribing. It's like, are you gonna receive your own messages, the messages you publish? I mean, I know that some protocols handle that as well, like AsyncAPI, for instance, that you can say that you don't want to receive the messages that you publish, or was it JMS? I don't remember now. But yeah, there's the basics are there. We just need to get rid of this. First of all, we need to get rid of this mess of the publish and subscribe, and and the different verbs and all this stuff. And I think then we can go for that, like supporting these request reply models. That's how I see it. Like, don't know what you folks think. But
Yeah, I understand. That's actually why I'm kind of hanging out on this call today, as you would imagine, Fran. So
yeah, like by the way, there is a nice discussion happening on this issue here, which is related. Jonas is also related to this. I'm sharing on the chat, and it's related in the sense that it's about the meanings of publish and subscribe. As you can see, Lorna, it wasn't you only. So this is a long thing already. Like since AsyncAPI 2, it became a problem. Actually, since the beginning, it's been like this since the beginning. So not only since 2. And yeah, so there's this discussion about the meanings of publish and subscribe, and probably introducing some more verbs, like just to if I am understanding correctly, Jonas, I think as per your request here, sorry, as per the thing you're explaining here, right? Yes, it may be better suited to have something like client request, or actually no, the opposite, like changing the meaning of publish and subscribe to the opposite as it is right now. Like publish and subscribe means that your application is publishing and subscribing, right?
Yeah.
Which is the most let's say easy to grasp meaning at first. When you see it, it's like that's what you expect it to mean, and then create other verbs like request, which could contain a different kind of operation, of course. But yeah, I think this is something like something to discuss in the long term, or not in the long term. Actually, we need to fix this as soon as possible, and probably launch version 3 earlier than we thought. So yeah.
So, Fran, what's your view on how we kind of like collaborate and keep this moving along, right? Because I do obviously have some questions on sort of on what you posted a few hours ago, which I think is good. But I mean, because you kind of said in here, like, don't treat this as a proposal. But I guess I'm just wondering from a process perspective, like, how do you want to sort of get to the point where we do create a proposal for the community to evaluate?
It's a good point. It's actually, we should be creating a proposal soon, like probably from this issue that we were discussing. And I said, don't take it as a proposal because I didn't take the time to elaborate correctly. That's why it's not. It was just like random thoughts, and random thoughts. Some thoughts that I had in the last months about thinking about how to solve this, right? And other, not just this, but other problems in the spec, like channel reusability and all this stuff. But I think the way to go here is that we discuss probably a little bit more or shape what it is, or how does it look like, and then we make a formal proposal. And when Nishchit, can you please mute? Okay, thanks. So yeah, and when I say a little bit more, it doesn't have to be much more. It's just if someone wants to come up with a proposal, I was planning to do it myself, but I'm happy to coordinate with other people on making a formal proposal, like, hey, we should change this, we should change AsyncAPI this way, so we stop having this problem, and to solve these issues, right? And this will target version 3 because it's breaking change. So this will target the next major version. And yeah, and actually, I don't think it should take a lot of time, because we should not focus on how version 3 is going to look like. It's how we want to tackle these specific problems, right? We can get crazy and model and solve other problems there as well, but we don't have to, right? So yeah, I mean, let's just the same way this issue was about adding a property. So this issue was more about a specific solution for the problem. I think probably the way we can do this is either reconvert this issue to a more open question, like how do we solve this how we subscribe issue, and then we find a way, either the view property or change the meaning of the verbs and add new verbs. We reorganize how things come and go, right? So we can proceed as much as we want, like or the way we want. But what I want to say here is that there is no, don't always wait for me, like I should be commanding what you.
Yeah, so I mean, it's maybe one.
I'm happy. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No worries.
I was going to say, maybe one proposal I would have is like, if Fran, you either want, or I could kind of like, I guess what I'm looking for is to form maybe like a little like tiger team or like a little group that focuses on this particular problem, and like, have a few, weekly kind of meetings to see if we can sort of drill into what would ultimately get fix the problem and have consensus and provide a framework to then be able to, in the future build in things like request reply without having then to kind of redo, or rehash the verb discussion again. And so, somebody like, James Higginbotham and how do you, Lorna? Did I say your name correctly? Fran, did you allude that she sort of had questions on this as well?
So I am familiar with OpenAPI, completely new to AsyncAPI, and immediately was confused when I came to document a little MQTT IoT thing in my house. I was immediately confused about how to describe that, because I was like, am I publishing or am I subscribing? Like, this thing is publishing, but then that thing's listening. And I was also Twitch streaming when I did it, so then I wasn't feeling smart. So it was, I believe that this is the gotcha for like first time users. So I have like got my first game badge that I have achieved that gotcha, and now I'm ready for whatever the next one is.
Gotcha. Yeah. So I mean, I think like kind of that's what I was thinking was like, I know Higginbotham and myself have been doing, event-driven stuff for like our entire careers, but I think we need to make sure we have the aspect of kind of the person that's maybe new to AsyncAPI, but comfortable in OpenAPI, since a lot of our questions are coming from the big companies. I've mentioned this before, Fran, where it's Capital One and different large companies that already have very strong API-led sort of initiatives, and so then they take this spec and go, wait a minute, what? And then it's mass confusion, and then we don't, we don't have a clear path. So I mean, we're extremely, as motivated to like working on what the problem is, and then we're happy to create examples and all sorts of stuff and get that bought in with the community. I'm looking, what I don't want to do is individually or from a company perspective create a specification, and then everybody then ends up going, yeah, no. And then we kind of do the yeah, no thing a whole bunch of times. Because then, I don't feel like that's a very collaborative way to ultimately get a problem solved. So that's kind of why I was saying, maybe we need a little bit of a more formalized like tiger team that goes and, focuses on this and then presents back to the community kind of a thing.
So I think, well, first of all, I don't think this is going to happen several words. I don't think it's going to happen that you'll get like, well, no, right? So I don't think this, like, for sure, this is not going to happen. That's why I was saying that let's continue a little bit more the discussion, so we all more or less agree that, oh, that looks like that looks like it's better, and it could be a potential solution. And now someone can actually take the lead on that and just put some examples on this issue or a new issue if you want. Put some examples there, like, hey, so this is how I will actually love to fix this problem in AsyncAPI, right? And also, why I'm saying like someone takes the lead on this is because, first of all, if we create like a subgroup of people managing that, like how is this group supposed to be selected? Like, why are we going to leave some folks out if they may have also some good ideas, right? I know that you were saying, what you were saying is just for the initial proposal, which is great, but honestly, I think it's much easier if someone just start like with some thoughts and then get some feedback and fixes the initial thoughts, and you know, it's like a recurring thing until we have something which is good enough. And also, I like the idea of meetings because I am in Europe, so I'll be happy with like I'm usually in the middle of the world, right? Like, so my time zone is suitable for APAC and America's time zone, but yeah, that's not all the people will feel included here, right? So that's actually why we're running this meeting sometimes in the morning, and in the morning for us, and sometimes in the afternoon, right? So people from APAC and Americas can all join. So, and also we are an asynchronous APIs initiative, right? So let's make it synchronous. Let's make it in a written form. Also, it's going to be easier for people to jump in maybe when they have 30 minutes at some point in their days, because people are busy, right? And not everyone is actually working on an event-driven company like you do, right? Or like I am, like working on this full time. So, so some people have good ideas, but yeah, it's not the main trunk of their work. So I will make it like more distributed and more async kind of work. And I'm not joking here with the async, like, you know, and in a written form. So, and also in the public way, so people can see what has been the rationale behind a decision. Just to illustrate what I'm saying, and I'm sure that Lorna is familiar with that. This is happening a lot on the OpenAPI community, right? Like you get proposals for the same problem. You may get 3 or 4 proposals for the same problem. So I'm looking at you, Overlegs. So, right? So you get different point of views, right? And you get different ways of solving the same problem. And then you see how you might get into with one idea to your head, like, oh, why not we do something like this? These people are stupid, they didn't think about it. And then you go and you scan all the discussion, it's like, oh, they thought about it, but someone correctly pointed out that this is not gonna work for this thing. Oh, yeah, it's true. You know what I mean? So having this track record in public is also helpful for new people to understand why we did or we didn't do something, right? So yeah, I agree. Like, I'm happy to have some you know, like some initial discussions if you want to make a proposal. I was going to do a proposal anyway myself. But I was just gauging what people think in this issue, like what is people thinking about this way of structuring the spec, so maybe it's easier to understand. And if it seems that people are liking this more, then I will go and create a proposal using this way. And also, I was actually going to present this proposal anyway, like because I didn't have time or the space to elaborate properly there, right? So yeah, I mean, like it's okay. Someone just has to start the conversation, like Michael did in this issue, right? And today we're discussing something we're discussing something different, right? We're discussing how to fix this problem using another solution. And yeah, this is, I'm sorry if you feel that this is slow, but I do think it has to be somehow slow. I'm not necessarily slow on purpose, but we need to give people time to get into the issue, to understand the consequences, to give their voice, and then, you know, so it's a spec, right? If it were if it was an SDK or an application, that's okay. Like, we can easily fix something, but spec is going to live there for years, because now.
So Fran, can I jump in? I'm
Yeah.
trying to understand. So you want to continue the conversation essentially on the open GitHub issue, and okay, and you think you're going to make a proposal, or you're thinking about making a proposal? Like, I guess what's the time frame to Fran making a proposal?
Sorry if I'm not clear enough. Like, I was thinking of making a proposal, but I know that you guys are also eager to solve this issue. So we can both do a proposal, or we can keep ourselves discussing in this issue, and then any of us, not all of us, do a proposal with like summarizing the feedback we gather in this issue, right?
Okay.
So that's why I was saying, like, we can create a new issue and then with a specific proposal and start iterating there, or we can just use this issue, which is, I think, even though this is saying add the view property to the info section, it's actually about fixing the problem. It's actually about fixing the publish subscribe meaning problem, and not necessarily using the view property, right? And we can always change the title, so that's not a problem. And so yeah, that's. By the way, Jonas, I don't know if we somehow took over your question here about the requests and replies, but I think it's related.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's fine. Discussion happens. What is it?
Yeah. So yeah.
I actually have a question for that. How are you gonna do the proposals? Just each have a pull request, or just discussing one issue? It's gonna be a bit, what's it called? Clustered.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that's my point. So we can avoid cluttering, across many issues, or having the same discussion in many issues, by continuing this discussion here on this issue, right? That's one way. That's why I was saying that we can always change the title of the issue, so that's okay. But I would not rather start a new issue and without closing this one, right? So, because then, yeah, the discussion is going to happen in different places and people are going to get lost, and yeah. But yeah, once we have like kind of an agreement here, or almost an agreement on how this will look like, or you see people are getting some traction on your idea, then you might open a new issue with this specific solution, like, hey, this is, and we use this one as an index. Like, here's the proposal 1, here's the proposal 2, and because people will have different opinions, right? Hopefully, we don't have to create a proposal 2. We can all collaborate on a proposal 1, right? And that would be perfect. But yeah, so that's. I have the feeling that this issue has a lot of opinions, right? Or can take a lot of opinions here. Like, many people will want to solve this in a specific way because that's what they prefer, and not because it's better than the other, right? So yeah, and then we'll have to decide, basically, which is basically, I don't want to use that power, but if we're not able to decide, I'll have to decide in the end. So yeah, I hope you don't get me to decide here, please. So yeah, actually, this already happened in September. So that I had to decide. I had to decide and keep it like it is right now. And yeah, and I just decided to keep it the same way it was in version 1, just to avoid any changes, and explore changes. So now we have time to explore. Let's explore different solution and let's try to fix it. So Lorna, you were trying to say something before, maybe?
It seemed like there were some common themes between everyone's suggestions. Like, I'm new here, so I'm not going to write your proposal, but I feel like, well, what I'm not clear on is there common ground on the use cases that we're writing new proposals for? Are you all solving the same problem? Do you need to start from a bunch of use cases? I don't know what problem you're solving. I just got here. So are you all solving the same problems? Or like, how could we establish that as a very human readable set of ideas before anyone gets too deep into a new proposal?
So you mean like a process of gathering information before we get to write proposals?
Or, I mean, process is possibly too long a word, and as you say, this will take some time, but if everyone brain dumps the stuff they think we don't currently have a good cover for, or the reason, you know, for example, this isn't really, the example that's still on the screen share is not really straight up pub subs, so do we need something different for that? So is that a use case that we should consider when we're looking at making changes? Like, what are we even fixing?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. And I know what you mean. Yeah, I think it's just that for us, we have been here for a while. It's like clear in our minds. But yeah, we should make it like in the proposal or in the next comments on this issue. We should clarify what we're trying to fix here, right? Like what exactly we're trying to fix here, and what we want to be included here. Like, is it just publish and subscribe? Are we going to include requests and replies? Are we going to include other birds? So in my opinion, it is all about keeping the same functionality, but making it a little bit easier for the user to understand what publish and subscribe means. So that's my feeling here, but yeah, we'll have to write it down. And my feeling is that publish and subscribe will probably be like, publish means that my application is publishing, and subscribe means my application is subscribing, which is the opposite as what we have now, because what we have now is like what the client can do with your application, right? Like the same way we do with OpenAPI. Like you don't, when you say get in a post, you don't, your application is not making a get request. Your application is accepting get request, right? So
look out, because 3.1's got webhooks, so it actually could mean even different.
So yeah, that's similar, yeah. But the thing here is that with OpenAPI, I mean, all these problems are inherited from OpenAPI, because I'm not blaming them. I'm actually blaming myself for this. But but it's all inherited. And the thing is that in OpenAPI, there's something implicit that is never declared anywhere, which is the client-server architecture, right? The client-server communication, right? And that's not always the case in messaging, right? So messaging, actually, most of the times it's not the case. Most of the times you have a broker, right? But there are also these cases where you have client-server, right? Like with WebSockets, with a browser connecting to a server. This is client-server, even though it's WebSocket. NATS, for instance, has this pattern for request and reply, and HTTP has this HTTP to servers and events. So, and that's also messaging, but it's a client server. And in these cases, it's even worse, because it's client server and request response. So it's change of paradigm here, right? As opposed to messaging, like broker-centric messaging is usually not request response and is not client server. It's just like, yeah, it's like a decoupled network of nodes communicating with each other. So yeah, there's no concept of client or concept of server. And if there is a concept of server, it will be the broker, not one of the other nodes, right? So yeah. So the thing here is that publish and subscribe will be, I think, the opposite as we have now, and the more, let's say, the best or the don't know how to call it, like the most friendly for the user at first. Then we can add something, I'm just guessing, like to cover the same functionality we have right now, we can have client subscribe and client server and client publish, which is like your client can publish to you or your client can subscribe to you, to your messages. So we get 2 new verbs. But since we're getting 2 new verbs, then yeah, we have to establish the scope here. And since we're getting 2 new verbs, we should probably be getting client request, something like this. Like your client can send a request to you, right? Which in the end, it will be similar, if not the same, of client publish. But yeah, we should probably be defining this. That's why I was saying that this issue is about a specific solution for this problem, like adding a view property to the info section. And I think what's in the table here right now, even in this issue as well, is not this specific solution. Like, is about the problem. Like, we have the problem. How the hell are we going to fix this, right? That's how I see it. Again, I don't know. What do you think we can do here? I'm all into changing the title of this issue and continuing the discussion on and having an open, like more open mind on. We're not aiming to fix it adding a view property, but let's have a discussion on how do we fix this problem. Whatever is the solution. The solution, we will find the solution once we collaborate on the thread, right, on the issue. What do you think about it? As per your experience? Nobody thinks about it?
Sorry, Fran, are you asking somebody in particular?
Yeah, I'm waiting for you, man. No, I'm just kidding. Like, I'm asking everyone here, like, what do you think about reframing this issue to find a solution for this problem?
I think that makes sense. I think the view parameter was proposed as a patch, right? So we'd rather come up with a real long-term solution. So in my opinion, I think I'm fine with coming up with a real proposal and fixing this, whether it be for V3 or whatever we decide, wherever we decide it needs to be made. I'd rather have a real good long-term patch long-term solution than a short-term patch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I'm saying this because I know it's frequent to see specifications moving really slow, and I want to avoid S from becoming this, right? Like, we should move not fast, like super quick, because it's a spec and we don't want to be breaking things very often, right? But I would like to be for us to agree on delivering new versions of the spec more frequently.
Yeah, especially towards the beginning now, right? So this lasts for a very long time. There's less and less users, so we can theoretically move quicker now than we will be a year from now. 4 or 5 years
Exactly.
from now.
Exactly. And then, of course, we will maintain. It's not like what I did in the past. Like I'm launching 2 and I'm not supporting 1 anymore. I was doing this because I was, I didn't have the bandwidth to do that. But now that we're growing as a group and also companies supporting it, and people working full time on this, so we can actually do. We can actually start supporting version 2, even though it's not perfect. We can keep supporting it for years maybe, or until we deliver version, I don't know, 8. I'm just inventing the number, right? But we can have a clear program here on long-term support versioning, right? So what I'm saying is that, yeah, we go for version 3, but it doesn't mean that we will have to forget about 2. Of course not. That's why I was saying that because of this, we can move faster. And if someone wants to keep using version 2, that's okay. But if someone wants to start using 3, that's even better. And same for 4 and 5, like. And actually, now allow me to share a thought here. So I've been thinking a little bit about this release process for AsyncAPI, and I've been looking at what Node.js has been doing in the past. And there's something that was strange to me in the beginning, but now I understand them a little bit better. And it's this. So Node.js has this system where, for instance, the even version, the even numbers of their versions are long-term supported, and the odd numbers are not gonna say short-term, but yeah, not long-term supported. So they say, like, if you want to stick for the long-term to a specific version, stick to an even number, like 10, 12, 14, right? Don't go for 11, 13, 15, right? And why is it like, why I see it as an opportunity or as a learning from our side? I think it will be interesting to do something similar, because that means that we can deliver to the public a new version, and people can start using it in their cutting edge projects, which is probably not going to be production ready systems and of a finance company. So it's not going to be a problem, right? And we give people the opportunity to try it and to play with it. And then we see what problems this version has. And once we find these problems, we fix it on the next version, which will be an even number. And then, so it's like as a way of, so this is the true release, and the next one is a release that you can play with, right? It's a little bit like test release for cutting edge projects, and then on the next one it will be again the nice, the true release, and also releasing more often, like putting ourselves the task or the duty to be releasing a new version every 6 months, whatever it is, even if it's just batch version, even if it's just adding a stupid thing, but we keep moving, right? And I'm saying 6 months, it can be not less for sure, but it can be a bit more, or every year, or every year is a little bit, it's too much, I would say. But yeah, so yeah, I just wanted to share this with you, that that's why I'm always saying, like, don't worry about breaking the spec with these things, because I anyway think we should move faster. So look at JSON schema, for instance. JSON schema is now in, I don't know, is it 8, version 8, draft 8? I think it's the current one. It's not called like this, but I think it's the 8. And people are still using version 4, right? In many places, in most of the places. So yeah, that's okay. But if you want to use the newest, coolest stuff, you have the spec there, right? So yeah, just wanted to share this thought with you. Any questions? Any concerns? Are you all watching football while I speak?
No, there's
I'm
no
looking
sports
at. I'm looking at you, Francesco.
I was quickly checking something, but I have a question regarding what Lorna mentioned before. Do we have a clear statement on the problem that we want to solve with producers and consumers, and publishers and subscribers?
Do we have to what? You said?
A clear statement of the problem that we want to solve.
Oh yes. Actually, let me check if it's on the issue. If not, I'll make sure it is there. Yeah. I can tell you the brief summary of what's happening. So what's happening here is that some people don't know exactly how many, what percentage of people see the spec this way, but some people, many, I can say, whenever they land on the spec, they see publish and they think their application is publishing. Like, think about it. If you were generating code from your spec, the publish will generate a publishing message, like publishing a message. And a subscribe will generate code for listening, right? That's, yeah, like, sounds like a no-brainer, but wait. The problem here is, then if you want to expose your spec to the public, and you want to tell people like, hey, this is like, for instance, Slack API or any other APIs with WebSockets in this case, but that doesn't matter. If you want to share your spec with the public, you don't want to write a spec saying what the client is doing. You want to tell people, you want to communicate people what they can do with your API, right? Like the same that happens with OpenAPI. Like you see a get or you see a post, it means that they can send you a get or a post, not that you are getting or posting the server, right? So that's, some people see it one way, some people see it the other way. It all depends on what's the context you're coming from, and the context, like for instance, and I'm not saying it depends on your background. Like for instance, Lorna is coming from OpenAPI and REST API's context, but she was developing an IoT and QTT home automation stuff, right? So it has nothing to do with client server and request response. So yeah, so I guess her first reaction was like, I don't get it. Right? Like, this is confusing, and it's true. I mean, it is super confusing. But the problem is, if we change it to publish, if we change it to the opposite, then it will be confusing for people consuming on the public side, right? For consumers that you don't control, right? So yeah, we have a problem here, right?
Yeah, and I think for me it was quite like, I wanted to describe the things that my MQTT server knows about, and of course it's absolutely not from that point of view. It's from either this application or the one that understands what that is. That's it. So it just sends messages over to the lights, and I wanted to describe that. I wanted to describe all the things you can do with MQTT. So I've got like some plug stuff and some color related stuff, and it turns another light on and whatever. Those are, I guess, because they're technically different applications.
Yeah,
then,
exactly.
I would need a whole bunch of different, which I didn't expect, and that confused me.
Yeah, that's another thing.
So I think that's how you were in your, not your proposal frame, but your suggestion, right? I think that's how you would define the library in a way, right? Would be everything that you do.
Yeah.
And then, so yeah, I guess while we're kind of talking about this, and I think Jonathan asked, but I don't know if you had answered yet. In your suggestion, that's not a proposal, where you, when you said library, that would be, obviously something that somebody could do against your application or set of applications, or against your broker if you're using a broker as an example. When you say application, are you saying what the application itself does?
Yeah, exactly. That I forgot to answer this before the meeting. So yeah, in my suggestion, right, the publish and subscribe meaning are really changing to the behavioral aspect. Like that's what my application does, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not what my application expects the clients or other to do, to interact with me, right? So yeah, this is already changed there, and yeah, I thought I had to make it clear. But if you look at the example, you see there's a client subscribe verb. It's called client subscribe. One of them is publish, and the other one is client subscribe. That's the verb. Let's say it's not a verb. It's a type of subscribing, which is so the example here, the suggestion here is about a train API that you can, or a train train service or something that or API that you can actually connect and subscribe to updates, and you'll get whatever information about the updates. And if you look at the example, it has two. It has publish, two operations, publish and client subscribe. Publish means that my application is actually publishing in this topic, sending information there, right? And client subscribe is a way to communicate to clients that they can subscribe to receive this information. That's why I'm starting this with client subscribe. Another thought that I have in my mind is we can actually split this client subscribe word, which is a single word here, and split it to subject, client, type, subscribe, whatever.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to think about it more. I just wanted to make sure that that what you were saying there is what the application itself does in a way. So I think that makes sense. Anyway, I know we're.
Yeah, I expect this to become clear, especially the very moment people see that there is publish, subscribe, client publish and client subscribe. People will think like, oh, wait, there are 4 verbs that I can use, or 4 actions or types of operations. So I think the first reaction will be like, let me read what every of these type of operations do, right? What do they mean, right? I hope that's what happens, right? But yeah, it's in my opinion, this is never going to be perfect. Like there will always be people confused, because some people learn by examples. They don't read the spec, they don't read the documentation. They get a example AsyncAPI file and they see publish subscribe, and they think that's all the operations you can do, or that there are no others, and they automatically infer the meaning of these verbs to match what they think about them, right? But yeah.
That works. That works. So I'll follow along, but I have another meeting as well, so I have to.
No problem. Yeah, it's taking longer than expected. So Francesco, I hope this answered your question. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it does. I was just quickly thinking, what if we just expanded the spec to drop a templated documentation?
What, sorry?
So we expand the spec to have a templated documentation, because what you mentioned is that whatever verb we will use, people may be confused, and even if they just read publish and subscribe without checking the other two, they will still be confused. The best thing would be having the documentation, but people don't read the documentation. What if we just add a description of the actual action inside the spec?
Yeah, but I mean, so you mean the meaning of publish and subscribe inside the spec, you mean?
So alongside your spec, you can drop a line of documentation.
You mean on the examples? You mean on the examples that we publish for people to learn or something? Or
even the template that you use to generate the initial spec.
Yeah.
This way,
I think what he's saying is once you have the document that defines your application or library, that's the machine readable run, right?
Yeah.
When you have a template that generates human readable documentation from that, in the human readable documentation, it should say what the verb means. I think that's what he's saying.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. That will be super helpful. Yeah. No, I agree. And actually, one of the things that I tried to avoid in this version was to put so much information there about what it means on the human readable version, because I knew that some people were using the spec in a different way, even though it's incorrect by the spec itself. But yeah, I don't want to be super mean with that people, and it was like, okay, let's understand that some people are going to use it this way, and let's work on a solution. And then on the next solution, yeah, we'll make it super clear that this is what you expect. This is what it means. And once you are typing your AsyncAPI file or you're exporting it from somewhere and you get the human readable documentation, you'll get some clear text there saying that you can subscribe or you can publish, or this service or this application is publishing or subscribing. And that's, yeah, it will pop out like, oh, no, that's not what we want. And then people will realize that they're using it well. Yeah, that's totally, I agree with that. Like, that's that sounds like a good idea.
Okay, I will try to elaborate it in the Git issue.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you. So, thanks for joining. See you next time.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye bye.